All right, let's dive deep into peak performance today. We've got this fascinating excerpt from the audiobook NLNLP, The New Technology of Achievement,
Huh.
all about using NLP, that's neuro-linguistic programming, by the way,
Okay.
to reprogram our minds for success.
Yeah, like top athletes and
Continuous.
entrepreneurs, peak performers.
Exactly. It's like learning the secrets of those who are crushing it
Yeah.
and figuring out how we can apply those to our own lives.
And what I think is super interesting is how the book really zeroes in on the mental game. It uses these real-life examples, especially from athletes who have bounced back from these major setbacks.
Oh, wow.
And it really highlights how important, how crucial that mental aspect is and how
Yeah.
those strategies, they can be learned, actually, by anyone.
That's so powerful because it's not just about talent or luck. It's about understanding the mental patterns that drive success
Yeah.
and learning how to reprogram our own minds
Yeah.
to, achieve those same results.
Absolutely. And it's not just theory. Like, this audiobook gives us practical tools and techniques to actually put these principles into practice in our own lives.
Okay, so we're talking about like actual actionable steps, not just like motivational fluff.
Right.
We're talking rewiring our brains for success, okay? Harnessing the power of the placebo effect.
The placebo effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even visualizing our lives from space.
From space. Wow.
You ready for this?
I am strapped in and ready to go.
All right, let's launch into it.
So one of the core concepts in this book that we'll be unpacking is the 6 elements of a positive mental attitude.
Okay, 6 elements.
Yeah.
I like it. It's like a recipe for success.
Exactly. And these elements were actually discovered by studying athletes who recovered from serious injuries, often came back even stronger.
Wow. So it's not just about bouncing back. It's about like exceeding your previous best.
Yeah.
Like using that setback as a springboard to launch you even further.
Right. It's like turning that adversity into an advantage.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so 6 elements. I'm already intrigued. What's the first one?
Okay, so the first element is inner motivation.
Inner motivation.
Think of it as having a compelling goal,
Huh.
pulling you forward,
Ah.
and
Huh.
consequence you want to avoid, pushing you away from complacency.
Okay, so it's like having both a carrot and a stick, but they're personalized. They're things that really matter to you.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
not just any characteristic. It's got to be something that resonates deeply with your values and goals.
Makes sense. All right, what's the next element?
Okay, number 2, valuing full health capability. This one is about setting high standards for yourself
Okay.
and refusing to settle for less than your potential.
I love that.
Those athletes, after their injuries, they didn't just aim to recover. They aimed to surpass their pre-injury performance.
Wow.
They didn't let this setback define their limits.
It's like saying, I'm not just going to bounce back. I'm going to launch myself forward from here.
Exactly. It's about embracing that growth mindset
Yeah.
and pushing beyond what you thought was possible. All right, I'm ready for element number 3,
Okay, this one's called chunk size information.
chunk size information.
And it's all about breaking down those big goals into smaller, manageable steps to avoid getting overwhelmed.
This is so important. I think a lot of people struggle with that. Like they get so overwhelmed by the big picture
Yeah.
that they just freeze up and don't even know where to start.
Right. It's like, how do you eat an elephant?
How do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it's about creating a sense of progress and achievement along the way.
Little way.
Love that. All right, what about element number 4?
Okay, number 4 is present moment time frame.
Mm,
This one emphasizes staying focused on the task at hand
okay.
while also using future rewards as motivation
So it's like being present and mindful, but fueled by the excitement.
of what's to come.
Exactly. It's a balance
Yeah.
of being grounded in the now, but also having that vision of the future pulling you forward.
Makes sense. Okay, 2 more elements to go.
Okay, the 5th element is involvement.
Involved.
This one stresses taking an active role in achieving your goals.
Well,
It's about being proactive, taking ownership, not passively waiting for things to happen.
I love that. No backseat drivers allowed.
Right. You are in the driver's seat of your own success.
Okay, and the final element, number 6,
Number 6 is self-to-self comparisons.
self-to-self comparisons.
And this one is so important, especially in today's world, where we're constantly bombarded with images of other people's success, on social media and everywhere else.
It's so easy to fall into that comparison trap.
Right. But this element reminds us to focus on our own progress, our own journey, not on comparing ourselves to others.
So it's about celebrating how far you've come, not about measuring yourself against someone else's yardstick.
Exactly. It's your race, your pace.
I love that. Okay, so we've got these 6 elements. They're like the building blocks of a positive mental attitude.
Exactly. And the audiobook shares a really powerful story to illustrate these elements.
Oh, I love a good story.
It's about Greg LeMond.
Greg LeMond?
He was a cyclist, a 2-time winner of the Tour de France.
Wow, the Tour de France.
Yeah, one of the toughest races in the world.
That's incredible.
And what's even more incredible is that he won a 2nd title. After a near-fatal hunting accident,
Oh my gosh.
he was left with shotgun pellets lodged near his heart.
That's insane.
I know, and doctors thought he might be permanently disabled, but he focused on his recovery. With this unwavering belief, he set high standards for himself, stayed present in his efforts, and ultimately achieved what many thought was impossible.
Wow, talk about inspiring. It's like a real-life superhero story.
It is. It really shows the power
Yeah.
of the human spirit and the incredible resilience that we're all capable of.
Absolutely. And it's a
Yeah.
perfect example of how these 6 elements can help us overcome any obstacle.
And achieve things
Yeah,
that we might have once thought were impossible.
exactly.
So speaking of overcoming setbacks and rewriting our stories, the audiobook delves into some pretty fascinating NLP techniques, particularly the concept of a personal timeline. Yeah, that's where things start to get really interesting.
Okay, tell me more.
Well, it explores how we internally organize our past and future experiences. It's not just about what happened, but how those events are arranged in our minds
Yeah.
and how that impacts us.
So it's like our perception of time is not just a straight line.
Right.
It's more like a mosaic, maybe.
Yeah, I like that. A mosaic of experiences that we're constantly piecing together and reinterpreting.
And that can affect how we feel and act in the present.
Absolutely.
Wow, this is blowing my mind already.
You know, it's powerful stuff.
Okay, so tell me more about these personal timelines
Yeah.
and how we can use them to our advantage.
All right. Well, one of the most powerful techniques associated with personal timelines is something called the decision destroyer.
Decision destroyer. Okay, that sounds intense.
It is pretty powerful.
What is it?
Well, it's a technique that can be used to rewrite past negative experiences with a new, more empowering attitude.
Hold on, are we talking time travel here? Can we actually change the past?
Well, not literally change the events themselves, but we can change our emotional response to them.
Okay.
Think of it like this. You're not changing the event itself, but you're changing the filter through which you view it. So it's like, you know, if you're looking at a photo and you adjust the color balance, you're not changing the actual content of the photo, but you're changing how it looks, how it feels.
So we're not erasing the past, but we're changing how we feel about it.
Exactly.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
It is, and it can be incredibly liberating
I can imagine.
because it allows us to free ourselves from those negative emotions that might be holding us back.
Okay, so we've got personal timelines and the decision destroyer. What other NLP techniques should we have on our radar?
Or another fascinating concept is peak performance and the flow state.
Ah, the flow state, that feeling of being in the zone, totally absorbed in an activity, performing at your best.
Exactly.
I think everyone has experienced that at some point,
Yeah.
whether it's in sports or work
Yep.
or even a hobby.
Absolutely. It's that state of effortless action, heightened focus, and a sense of timelessness.
It's like everything just clicks and you're operating on a whole other level.
Right.
And the audiobook connects this flow state to the concept of freedom from concern.
Yes, peak performers often exhibit this ability to detach from worries and pressures, allowing their talent to shine through, unimpeded.
So it's not about ignoring concerns, but about preventing them from dominating your mental space.
Right. It's about creating that mental sanctuary where your skills can flourish without the noise of worry and self-doubt.
That makes sense.
And to illustrate this, the audiobook shares an interesting anecdote about commodity traders.
Commodity traders.
Yeah, they treat their work as a game,
A game.
even though millions can be won or lost in minutes.
Wow.
It's not about pretending that the stakes aren't high, but about finding a mental framework that allows you to operate from a place of clarity and focus, even in the most intense situations.
That's fascinating. So it's like they're not denying the pressure, but they're choosing to approach it in a way that empowers them.
Exactly. They're choosing their perspective.
Okay, so we've talked about the 6 elements of a positive mental attitude. personal timelines, the decision destroyer, the flow state, and freedom from concern.
Yeah.
What else does this audiobook have in store for us?
Well, one of the most mind-expanding concepts is the overview effect.
The overview effect. Okay, I'm
Yes,
intrigued.
you should be. It's a phenomenon reported by astronauts who have viewed Earth from space.
Oh, wow.
They describe this profound shift in perspective, a sense of awe and interconnectedness, and a renewed appreciation for the fragility of our planet.
So it's like seeing the big picture, literally.
Exactly.
And how does the audiobook use this concept?
Well, it takes the listener on this imaginary journey into space to experience the overview effect through visualization.
So we don't actually have to go to space
No, thankfully
to get that shift in perspective.
Yeah. Right. It's about using our imagination to tap into that
Wow.
expanded awareness.
I like that. A mental shortcut to a cosmic perspective.
Exactly.
But isn't this just a, feel-good exercise? Is there any real benefit to experiencing the overview effect?
Oh, it's definitely more than just a feel-good exercise. It's been documented by astronauts from all over the world, and its potential benefits for personal growth and well-being are significant.
So there's, actual science behind it.
It's
not just a woo-woo new age thing.
Right.
There's evidence to support its impact
Yeah,
on our brains and our well-being.
exactly.
That's fascinating.
It's like hitting the reset button on your perspective.
I like
You
that.
get to see things from a whole new angle.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground already, but I'm definitely ready to dive deeper into this overview effect
Yeah.
and how we can use it to unlock
Ah,
our full potential.
let's do it. Welcome back. You know, it's one thing to understand these concepts, but the real magic happens when we start applying them.
That's so
Yeah. I think you'll be surprised how easy it can be, actually, to integrate these powerful techniques into your everyday life.
Okay, I'm all ears. Let's start with the 6 elements of a positive mental attitude. How can we actually cultivate these mental patterns in our daily lives?
Well, let's take inner motivation. That's the first element, right? It's all about aligning your goals with your values and understanding both the positive outcomes you're working towards and the negative consequences you're aiming to avoid.
Okay.
Like setting up this powerful push-pull system that keeps you moving forward.
So it's not just about wanting something, but really understanding why you want it and what you're willing to do to achieve it.
Absolutely. And equally important is identifying the potential downsides of not achieving your goals.
Oh, interesting.
That creates a sense of urgency and accountability that can really fuel your actions.
I can see that. It's like having a clear picture of both the destination and the roadblocks you want to avoid along the way.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. What about the second element?
So, the second element, valuing full health capability. It's about setting high standards for yourself and recognizing your inherent potential.
Okay, so it's about believing in yourself and refusing to settle for mediocrity.
Right. But it's not about being unrealistic or setting yourself up for failure.
Right.
It's about recognizing that you're capable of more than you might currently believe and setting goals that push you beyond your perceived limitations.
So embracing the challenge
Yes.
and trusting that the process of striving for excellence will lead to growth and fulfillment, regardless of the outcome.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, what about the third element?
So chunk size information. This one is all about breaking down those big, ambitious goals into smaller, more manageable steps.
This is so relevant for me. I tend to get overwhelmed
Hmm.
when I look at the big picture. So how can I use chunk size information to make things feel less daunting?
Think of it like creating a roadmap with clear milestones along the way.
Okay.
Each milestone becomes a mini goal. And as you achieve each one, you create a sense of progress and momentum.
So it's like climbing a mountain. You don't focus on the peak the entire time. You focus on reaching the next base camp.
Exactly.
I love that analogy.
And celebrating those small wins along the way is a huge part of staying motivated.
That's so important. Because it's easy to get discouraged if you're only focused on the end goal.
Right. But when you celebrate those small wins, it reinforces those positive behaviors. And it helps you stay motivated, even when things get tough.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've talked about setting goals, breaking them down, and celebrating progress. What about the fourth element?
So the fourth element, present moment time frame. This one might seem a bit contradictory.
Go.
How can we be fully present and mindful while also being motivated by future goals?
That is a great question. It does seem like a bit of a paradox.
It is a balance. You know, dwelling too much on the past can lead to regret, and obsessing about the future creates anxiety. But staying solely in the present without any direction or goals, can feel aimless.
So it's about finding that sweet spot, being grounded in the present moment, but also having a clear vision of where you want to go.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm starting to see how these elements all work together.
They do. They're all interconnected.
All right, what about the fifth element?
The fifth element is involvement. And this one is all about taking an active role in shaping your life
All right.
rather than passively waiting for things to happen.
I think I've been guilty of that at times, just hoping things will work out on their own.
We've all been there. But this element empowers us to become the creators of our own lives.
That's powerful.
It is. It's about taking ownership of our choices, recognizing that we have the power to influence our circumstances,
Yeah.
and then taking action.
So it's about being the driver of your own bus, not just a passenger along for the ride.
Exactly.
And the final element, we've already touched on this one, but it's worth repeating.
Self-to-self comparisons.
Yes.
So crucial in today's world.
It is.
It's about celebrating your own progress, acknowledging how far you come without getting caught in that trap of comparing yourself to others.
Because everyone is on their own unique path.
Yeah.
It's your race, your pace. Focus on your personal best.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've revisited the 6 elements. Now, you mentioned earlier that we dive deeper into the decision destroyer technique. I'm ready to time travel.
All right, buckle up.
How does this technique actually work?
The decision destroyer. It's a powerful technique that helps us reframe past negative experiences
Okay.
and liberate ourselves from limiting beliefs that might be holding us back.
So how do we actually rewrite the past? Do we need a special pen?
No special pen required.
Okay, good.
The key is to access that past experience in your mind
Okay.
and then shift the perspective. Imagine you can rewind and replay the experience. But this time, you're viewing it from a different angle.
So instead of reliving the experience through that same lens of negativity or regret, we're choosing to see it through a more empowering lens.
Exactly.
Okay.
You're not changing the event itself, but you're changing the filter through which you view it.
Like adjusting the color balance on a photo
Exactly.
to bring out different tones and detail.
Yes.
So we're not denying or minimizing the past, but we're choosing to see it in a way
Yeah,
that empowers us rather than limits us.
you got it.
Wow, this is incredible. It's like we have the power to rewrite our own stories
We do.
and create a more empowering narrative for ourselves.
And that power extends to the future as well.
Oh, interesting.
Just as we can reframe our past experiences, we can also use NLP techniques to visualize and shape our future.
So we're not just passive passengers in our own lives, we're active creators.
Yeah.
Both in terms of how we perceive our past
Yeah.
and how we envision our future.
Exactly.
Like that.
And this brings us back to the concept of personal timelines.
Right.
Remember, our experience of time is not purely linear.
Yep.
It's subjective, influenced by our emotions, beliefs, and memories.
So our personal timeline,
Yeah.
it's more like a choose-your-own-adventure story
Yeah.
than a predetermined script.
That's a great way to think about it.
I like that.
And just as we can use the decision destroyer to reframe negative experiences from the past, we can use visualization techniques to create a positive and empowering vision of the future.
So we're talking about the power of visualization.
Yeah.
Using our imaginations.
Yeah.
To create a compelling future.
Yeah.
That we're excited to move towards.
Absolute.
But doesn't that create a lot of pressure to make that vision a reality?
It's not about creating pressure, but about tapping into the power of your imagination to fuel your motivation and inspire your actions.
Mm-hmm.
The more vividly you can imagine and feel your desired future, the more likely you are to take the steps needed to make it happen.
So instead of letting fear or uncertainty hold us back, we're using the power of our minds to create a future that we're excited to step into.
Exactly.
I love that.
And remember, this isn't about being rigid or controlling.
Okay.
It's about being flexible, adapting to new information, and trusting that the journey will unfold in its own perfect way.
This is so empowering. It's like we're taking back control of our mental landscape,
We are.
reframing our past,
Yeah.
visualizing our future, and ultimately becoming the architects of our own destinies.
And to take that empowerment even further, let's revisit the overview effect.
Okay, yes. The
Thank-
overview effect.
It's a powerful technique that can help us see ourselves, our lives, and our place in the universe in a whole new light.
Remind me, how can we experience this shift in perspective without actually going into space?
Well, the audiobook provides a guided visualization exercise that leads you on a journey through space, gradually expanding your perspective until you're viewing Earth from orbit.
So we're using our imaginations to create a similar experience.
To what astronauts have described.
Exactly.
Okay.
And while it might not be the same as actually being in space, it can still be a powerful way to shift your perspective and tap into that sense of awe and interconnectedness.
Like a mental shortcut to a cosmic perspective.
I like that. But is there any real benefit to experiencing the overview effect? Or is it just a feel-good exercise?
It's definitely more than just a feel-good exercise.
Okay.
It's been documented by astronauts from all over the world. And its potential benefits for personal growth and well-being are significant.
So there's actual scientific evidence to support its impact
on
our brains and our overall well-being.
There's a growing body of research that suggests the overview effect can have a profound impact on our neural pathways, leading to increased feelings of interconnectedness, awe, and a diminished sense of self-importance.
That's fascinating.
It's like upgrading your operating system to a more expansive and interconnected version of reality.
I like that. So by tapping into this expanded perspective, we can potentially reduce stress, increase feelings of connection, and gain a deeper sense of purpose.
Exactly.
This is mind-blowing.
It is. And this shift in perspective can have ripple effects throughout your life, influencing your relationships, your career, your sense of purpose, and your overall well-being.
This is incredible. We're talking about using a technique that can help us see ourselves, our lives, and our place in the universe in a whole new light.
And this new perspective can be a catalyst for personal growth, creativity, and a deeper sense of connection to something greater than ourselves.
It's like we're tapping into a wellspring of inspiration and motivation that can fuel our actions and help us create a more meaningful and fulfilling life.
Precisely.
Now, the audiobook also mentions something called the swish pattern.
Ah, yes.
It's described as a way to change habits of mind. Can you tell us more about that?
The swish pattern. It's a classic NLP technique that's often used to break unwanted habits or install new, more desirable behaviors.
Okay.
It's based on the principle that our brains create these strong associations between thoughts, feelings, and behaviors.
So it's like we're rewiring those neural pathways to create new, more positive associations.
Precisely.
Right.
And the swish pattern is particularly effective because it works at the subconscious level, bypassing our conscious resistance to change.
So it's like we're sneaking past our inner critic.
Exactly.
And directly accessing the part of our brain.
Yeah.
That controls our habits and behaviors.
You got it.
I like that.
And the process itself is surprisingly simple, yet incredibly effective.
Okay, how does it work?
It involves identifying the unwanted thought or behavior.
Okay.
And then associating it with a more desirable image or feeling.
Can you give us an example?
Sure. Let's say someone has a habit of reaching for sugary snacks when they feel stressed.
Okay, I know that feeling.
So using the swish pattern, they would first visualize themselves reaching for that snack and then immediately swish that image away, replacing it with an image of themselves, choosing a healthier option, like a piece of fruit or a glass of water.
So it's like we're creating a mental shortcut that automatically redirects our behavior in a more positive direction.
Exactly.
And by repeatedly practicing this swish, we're essentially training our brain to associate stress with healthy choices rather than those sugary snacks.
It's like creating a new habit loop that overrides the old unwanted pattern.
I like that. Okay, so the swish pattern. It can be used for breaking bad habits. What else can it be used for?
It can be used for a wide range of habits, from procrastination to negative self-talk to unhealthy eating patterns. Really, anything you want to change.
It's like having a mental toolbox filled with techniques that can help us overcome our limitations and create the lives we desire.
And the beauty of NLP is that it's not about willpower or forcing yourself to change. It's about working with your brain, understanding how it creates patterns, and then using those patterns to your advantage.
So it's about aligning our conscious desires with our subconscious programming.
Exactly.
To create lasting and positive change.
And that alignment is key to achieving true and lasting transformation.
This is powerful stuff.
It is.
I'm excited to explore it further.
Me too.
All right, welcome back to our deep dive into NLNLP, the new technology of achievement.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey so far.
It has. We've been exploring some pretty mind-blowing concepts, like reframing our past, and even taking that virtual trip to space to experience the overview effect.
It's all about understanding the power of our minds and how we can leverage that power to create positive change in our lives.
Exactly. But how do we actually apply these concepts to specific areas like our relationships, our careers, or even our overall well-being?
Right. It's great to have all these mental tools, but we need to know where to use them.
Exactly.
While the audiobook doesn't give us like a step-by-step guide for each area, it does equip us with the mindset and techniques to tailor these principles to our specific needs.
Okay, so it's like having a universal key that can unlock different doors in our lives.
I like that analogy.
Let's start with the relationships then.
Yeah.
How can we use these NLP principles to improve our connections with others?
Well, one of the core principles of NLP is the importance of communication and understanding how language shapes our experiences. It's not just about what we say, but how we say it, and how our words are received and interpreted by the other person.
So it's like learning a new language, a language of empathy and understanding.
Exactly.
But how do we actually do that?
Well, NLP offers a range of techniques for building rapport, communicating more effectively, and resolving conflicts constructively.
Okay, give me an example.
Sure, there's a technique called perceptual positions that can be really helpful in relationships.
Perceptual positions.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
Imagine you're having a disagreement with someone.
Okay.
Perceptual positions encourage you to step outside of your own perspective and consider the situation from other viewpoints.
Okay.
So there's the first position, which is your own perspective.
Right.
The second position, which is the other person's perspective. And the third position, which is the perspective of a neutral observer.
So it's like mentally putting yourself in the other person's shoes and then taking a step back to see the bigger picture. That sounds really challenging, though, especially in the heat of the moment.
It does take practice, but the benefits are huge. By consciously shifting between these positions, you can gain empathy, see things from multiple angles, and communicate in a way that fosters understanding rather than defensiveness.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like expanding your field of vision to see the whole landscape, not just your own little corner of it.
Exactly.
Okay, so perceptual positions for relationships. What about our careers? How can we use these NLP principles to achieve greater success professionally?
Well, remember those 6 elements of a positive mental attitude?
Of course.
They're incredibly relevant in a professional context.
How so?
Having clear goals, breaking them down into manageable steps, staying focused, believing in yourself, and measuring your progress against your own past performance. These are all essential ingredients for success in any field.
It's like having a mental toolkit filled with strategies for overcoming challenges and achieving our goals.
Exactly. And NLP provides additional techniques that can be particularly helpful in a career setting.
Like what?
For example, there are techniques for overcoming procrastination, building confidence, improving communication skills, and even reframing setbacks as opportunities for growth.
Wait, reframing setbacks as opportunities. How do you do that?
It's all about shifting your perspective. Let's say you didn't get that promotion you were hoping for.
Ouch.
Instead of seeing it as a failure, you can choose to see it as a valuable learning experience, a chance to reassess your goals, or even a redirection towards a more fulfilling path.
So it's like turning those perceived failures
Yeah.
into stepping stones towards something even better.
Precisely.
I like that.
And this ability to reframe our experiences can have a profound impact on our motivation, our resilience, and our overall career trajectory.
So it's not about avoiding setbacks,
Right.
but about learning how to navigate them effectively and even leverage them to our advantage.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about relationships and careers. What about overall well-being? How can NLP help us live happier, healthier, and more fulfilling lives?
That's a great question. At its core, NLP is about taking control of our minds and using that control to create the experiences we desire. And that includes our emotional well-being.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that we have the power to choose our thoughts, manage our emotions, and create a more positive and fulfilling inner landscape.
So it's not just about achieving external goals, but also about cultivating a sense of inner peace and happiness.
Absolutely.
I like that.
NLP offers a wide range of techniques for managing stress, overcoming negative self-talk, building self-confidence, and cultivating a more optimistic outlook on life.
It's like having a personal trainer for your mind,
Exactly.
helping you develop the mental muscles you need to thrive.
And just like physical fitness, mental fitness requires consistent practice and dedication.
That's so true.
It's an ongoing journey of self-discovery and growth. But the more we practice these techniques, the more we strengthen our mental resilience, our emotional well-being, and our overall capacity for happiness and fulfillment.
This deep dive has been incredible. We've explored so many powerful concepts and techniques, and I feel like I've been given a whole new toolkit for creating positive change in my life.
That's great to hear. We've only scratched the surface of what NLP has to offer, but hopefully this has sparked your curiosity and inspired you to explore further.
It definitely has. I'm excited to start applying these techniques and see what kind of transformations I can create.
That's the spirit.
Any final words of wisdom for our listeners before we wrap things up?
Remember, the power to change your life lies within you. Stay curious, stay open to new possibilities, and never stop exploring the vast potential of your mind.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into NLP, the new technology of achievement. We encourage you to take what you've learned today and start applying it to your own life. Experiment with these techniques, explore further, and see what incredible transformations you can create. The power is within you.